We discuss some unfortunate news regarding Star Wars Outlaws and more in today's video. Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another video. We've got a two-parter today. First, we've got some news about Star Wars Outlaws, then we'll talk some lore later on. But the website TweakTurn is reporting details from a Ubisoft investor call where they discussed the success or lack thereof of Star Wars Outlaws. During the call, Ubisoft's chief financial officer stated, and I quote, "On the new release side, while the sales for Star Wars Outlaws improved throughout the holiday season, it wasn't enough to deliver on our expectations. Thanks to the rollout of title updates, the game has reached a high level of quality and is considered by the fans as the most immersive and fully interactive representations of the Star Wars universe. The game will be a long-term seller." Regardless of the game quality, this news isn't a massive surprise. As we covered last year, Ubisoft's stock has fallen precipitously, nearly 50% since last year, falling from 17 euros immediately before Outlaws launch to a low of less than 10 euros not even a month later to where it's sitting now at 11 euros. That's really not good. I mean, some advanced financial analysis there, but it's clear Ubisoft put a lot of money into this game. They were hoping for a hit, especially with the Star Wars brand, and Outlaws simply did not deliver, and we're seeing massive shakeups throughout the company now. Regional studios are closing, there are layoffs, all terrible things for those who are fans of the video game industry. The company has lost nearly 200 staff this year alone. Other bad news for Outlaws include the fact that last year, at least in Europe, it was outsold by Star Wars Jedi Survivor, despite the fact that Survivor came out an entire year earlier. So yeah, not ideal to put it lightly. Regarding the game's, I think we can call it failure, there are really multiple angles. For one, Outlaws was certainly let down by Ubisoft and its reputation increasingly as producers of one type of game, and a type of game that people are starting to tire of. Usually open world, usually fairly repetitive and shallow. To a degree, I think Outlaws certainly hits those marks, but we need to talk about the actual game itself, because while Outlaws suffered from Ubisoft's reputation, it also didn't really separate itself from the rest of Ubisoft's releases, at least in my opinion. I know it has a lot of fans, I don't consider myself one of them, but I also don't think Outlaws is terrible. For me, it's just the definition of like a 7 out of 10 game, and one that I put 10 or 15 hours into, maybe more, but didn't really feel like continuing. It wasn't outright bad, I didn't find myself getting frustrated by the mechanics, even the stealth, which I know a lot of people complained about, but there wasn't anything in the game that really gripped me, and I think that's a problem when people are expected to play for 30 or 40 hours. The feel of the game was cool, the universe and the world building was nice, but the gameplay itself to me was pretty routine, and with so many options, I feel like that's kind of a death knell for games nowadays. Anything that's just okay, nothing special, isn't going to attract a lot of attention when there are just so many options, especially with the proliferation of Game Pass and other streaming services where you can play a million different games without having to commit to one. I don't really think my opinion on the game has changed very much since I did my full review, and honestly, I don't think it will. I know there were some changes to stealth mechanics and other aspects of the gameplay, but to me, the game just on a fundamental level is not as compelling as I'd want it to be to justify all that time playing it. That's the same with the story. It certainly wasn't bad. If the gameplay were good, I would have enjoyed the story, but I don't know. Nothing drove me to continue playing, and I don't know, within a week or two it was played for the final time, within a month it was uninstalled, and I don't see that really changing. What's unfortunate is that Ubisoft is correct in that they've improved the state of the game. They've made free updates which fans seem to enjoy, balancing stealth mechanics and other features, and ideally the game could have served as a nice hub for a bunch of stories in the underworld and in this timeline starring Kay Vess, but I just don't think the install base is going to be high enough to justify anything beyond the initial planned DLC. That's another thing. Some people were mad at Outlaws for how they're running DLC. To me, it's pretty much the most consumer-friendly way we get DLC now. Although, I guess I understand the complaint about the exclusive Jabba mission, but whatever. If you buy the Season Pass roadmap, you get the Outlaws Wildcard Story Pack, 2 cosmetic bundles, a character pack, that exclusive mission I just referenced, plus an upcoming DLC, the Pirate's Fortune expansion. That comes out June 29th, and I don't know, I've got to say, I've just not seen any real discussion about any of this. Star Wars Outlaws just fell out of the cultural consciousness pretty quickly. The thing is, I really don't hate the game or even actively dislike it like others do. It was a little disappointing, it's not for me, but I don't think that's a great sin, especially with video games. The problem is, we're just not getting enough Star Wars video game content, so when something does release and it's not a masterpiece, or at least very, very good, it really stinks because it's the only game we're gonna get for 2 or 3 years. So hopefully that changes sooner rather than later, but for now, that's the update for Star Wars Outlaws. I suspect there'll be no second season pass, but who knows? I guess we'll find out. Alright, so as for a quick hashtag Ask Ek video, this comes from Tellin All Films, who says, to get a sense of geopolitical scale in Star Wars, what were the 5 most powerful non-Republic/Empire governments, excluding the CIS? Well, that's a tough question because there were many powerful governments which existed throughout history. Like, when you say no Empire, does the Sith count as well? Because they were certainly very powerful. The Rakatans, for a time, were very powerful. The New Republic turned into the Galactic Alliance. There was the Hand of Thrawn. All of that, I think, is worth another video, but it's kind of tough to narrow it down to a single top 5 list. So if there's a specific you'd like to know, you can leave that as a question down below. But what I think you probably mean are what were the other superpowers, or more accurately, expansive governments which existed in the Republic and Imperial era. I won't rank these based on top 5, but we have the Hapans, the Hapes Consortium. They were an isolationist faction in the Inner Rim. They were powerful enough that the Empire simply did not think it was worth trying to bust in and stop what they were doing. They had hundreds of capital ships and also captured Imperial Star Destroyers and more. They became more prominent once the New Republic started their thing. We also have the Hutts, who I've talked about before. Basically, they had a whole sector of space where they were up to their nonsense. The Empire kind of just left them alone and profited. The Chiss were the most powerful faction in the unknown regions. If you count the Hand of Thrawn, they were also extremely powerful, especially after the Empire fell. They gobbled up entire star systems. Then both the Centrality and the Corporate Sector Authorities were again sort of client states out in the Outer Rim, near the edge of the galaxy. The Corporate Sector Authority would have had dominion over thousands of planets, so quite a large faction, although compared to the Empire, relatively small. That's just a quick look though. If you want more detail, let me know and I can go into it more, but that's all for now. See you guys next time.